who had turned up since the discovery of the owls. And, if memory served him correctly, this guy was one of the more boisterous who routinely got into fights. Had one of those fights ended in murder? The environmentalists were at odds with some of the locals, and with good reason. But how did he get out here? Most of the fights were fueled by alcohol, and Sam thought that would have happened in town. There was no evidence of drinking near the body, no crushed beer cans, no half-empty bottles. "Where are the shells?" Sam asked as he slowly made his way around the body. Jo tilted her head to look at the ground. "Good question." Sam looked up in the trees again. It couldn't have just fallen out of a nest, right? "If it had, the shells would be here." Jo looked around the woods. "Unless an animal ate them or took them." The sound of voices pulled their attention away, and they turned to see Officer Kevin Deckard trudging through the woods alongside the medical examiner, John Dudley. "Could you get any further out?" John asked, an exasperated look on his face. He didn't like having to travel this far to examine the body. "Sorry, John. This is where we found him," Sam said. John grunted while squatting beside the body. Setting his black case on the ground beside him, he pulled on latex gloves and started his cursory examination. Kevin started photographing. Jo had already set out the yellow police markers, and Kevin started there, progressing inward to take photos immediately around the body. "Looks like he was bludgeoned to death," John said, pointing to what was left of the back of the victim's skull after turning the head by the chin with his gloved hand. "And looks like this is the murder weapon." Kevin squatted near a thick branch about the size of a baseball bat that lay about 10 feet from the body. "Killer didn't try very hard to hide it." "Probably knew the bark was too rough and deeply grooved to hold a fingerprint," Jo said. "Yeah, but I guess he didn't know we might be able to find some trace DNA on it," Kevin said as he snapped photos of the branch. "Someone must have been mad at him to swing that hard enough to kill," Jo said. "Or he came across something he shouldn't have seen and someone had to silence him," Sam suggested. Kevin spread his arms. "What could he possibly have seen out here?" "Who knows what goes on out in these woods?" Sam gazed into the trees, looking for evidence of anything out of place. What could be going on out here? He didn't see anything that indicated that it was a party spot or any other type of spot for the town teens, or any other type of spot for that matter. It was just woods. Empty woods that held endangered owls and were therefore now a protected area. Sam's eyes scanned to the west, where he could barely make out the skeleton of the new 9-story hotel real estate developer Lucas Thorne was constructing. Thorne had come to town a few years earlier, and had developed a second career as a thorn in Sam's side ever since. Not only did Sam dislike the fact that he was buying up parcels of land and ruining the pristine New Hampshire mountains and landscape with his hotels, golf courses, and restaurants, but he also suspected Thorne might be responsible for the influx of drugs that had caused the crime rate to rise in town. "Thorne's land abuts this parcel," Sam said. Jo followed his gaze and nodded. "Yep, that's his big ugly hotel." Jo shared Sam's dislike for the new construction. "But this isn't his land here," Sam said. "No." Jo flipped through her notepad. "This land belongs to Jackson Pressler. His son called in the body. Said he found it while he was out walking his coonhound." Jackson Pressler, one of the town's old-timers, owned acres of land. Family land from back in the day when it was cheap to buy up here. Now the old-timers were dying off, and their heirs sold the acres to Thorne. Sam guessed in another 10 years he might be chief of a small city. "How does Jack